Hello again. It's now Wednesday morning, and I'm recording a shir for Thursday morning. Before I record the shir, I'd like to say a few words. Bear with me, think with me. We were told that the Hebrew Academy is putting their classes online. The purpose of these classes is so that your day has some structure, that you're getting some education. The time does not become boring and wasted. And we were told that during this time we should not give any tests or examinations. This is not a time to test you on what you've learned or to examine what you know, but rather a time to hold on and to do the best we can, to have structured days. But I believe that there is a test that's going on as we speak and as we are in our homes. It's a test that the final grade will be given when, God willing, this entire episode will be over. And hopefully it will be over as soon as possible, without, God forbid, two terrible losses, an illness or worse, financial losses. We should be able to see each other again, happily and hopefully all in good health, and having gotten over this successfully. But then will come the questionnaire. God is testing us. God is testing us not as to what we know, what tools we have, what skills we have, what knowledge we have. God is testing us as to who we are. What are you made of? What drives you? What is inside? Forget the packaging. What is the content? There's social networking, there's the internet. There are many tools that God has given us in our time. And sometimes, unfortunately, they're not used for the best of purposes. Now we have a time to use these tools, the social networking and the internet, to reach out to others, to warm the hearts of others. This is a time that we cannot shake hands or kiss our fingers to our lips or give someone else a hug. But those are just physical things. Those are things on the outside. But within our hearts, we can reach out to someone else's heart. Wireless communication. To let someone know that I care about you. I think about you. I value you. You are important to me. You are important to others. Every one of us and every person, whether he's with family at home or he's alone, you are an important person. You play a role in the world, and you are valued. Using these tools of social networking and the internet to reach out, and as the expression goes, to touch someone from heart to heart, the way God touches us from heart to heart, and every day, giving us life, giving us light. We should emulate Him. And in the end, that's what we're going to be tested on. During this time, not how much did you learn or how many math problems were you able to solve, how many chemistry lessons did you take in, but rather, what did you do? This is a test you can cheat on, by the way. While the test is going on, you can copy from others, you can learn from others, you can emulate others, and you can inspire others. And in the end, the question will be asked, who were you? And who did you become? Amir Hashem, God willing, we will see each other again. And at that time, we will look at each other. And from eye to eye, from face to face, from heart to heart, we will should be able to see in each other's faces what we've learned and how we've grown and how we understand what the purpose of man is in the world, what the purpose of a Jew is in the world, to emulate God. God has given us an opportunity to stop and to reflect and to create and bring out the potential of ourselves. Have a wonderful day, and come, let's learn. We are at the bottom of Chaf Hei Amud Bet. We're up to a new perik, and there is a concept of Malin B'Kodesh V'lo Moridin. In things of Kedusha, we wish to rise and not to descend. So whenever we have something of Kedusha, when we trade it in, we should trade it in for something higher. For instance, according to some, the streets of a city had Kedusha, because sometimes the streets of a city were used for prayer, as we will see in the Gemara. So if the street of the city was sold and we have cash, you have to use the cash for something higher. What's higher than a street, which is used once in a while for prayer? A Beit Knesset, which is used regularly for prayer. And if you sell a Beit Knesset and you have cash, you should use the money for something higher. What's higher than a Beit Knesset? An Aron Kodesh. An Aron Kodesh that holds the Sefer Torah itself. What's holier than an Aron Kodesh? These are the fabric covers that you cover a Sefer Torah with, is closer, more intimate to the Sefer Torah than the Aron Kodesh. And what's holier than the covers of an Aron Kodesh? Sfarim of Nevi'im and Ktuvim, they themselves have holy writings in them, Nevi'im and Ktuvim. And what's higher than Nevi'im and Ktuvim? A Sefer Torah. So in each case, if you sold something which is an E, then you have money, you have to buy a D. If you sold something that's a D and you have money, you have to buy a C, and so on, higher and higher. But of course, you shouldn't go down. If you sold an A, if you sold a Sefer Torah, don't buy Nevi'im and Ktuvim. If you sold Nevi'im and Ktuvim, don't buy just the cover of a Sefer Torah. If you sold the cover of a Sefer Torah, don't buy an Aron Kodesh. And if you sold an Aron Kodesh, don't buy a Beit Knesset. And if you sold a Beit Knesset, don't buy a street in a city. And by the way, the same goes if you have extra money. For instance, let's say you sold an Aron Kodesh and you got $30,000. And let's say you were able to buy a Sefer Torah for it. And you bought a Sefer Torah for $20,000, and now you have $10,000 left. You should not think that since I already bought the Sefer Torah, with the surplus money I can do what I want. Even the surplus money must be used for a higher Kedusha. And if you don't have enough to buy something of a higher Kedusha, put it away in escrow and gather more money. When you have enough more money, you'll buy something of a higher Kedusha. So let's read the Mishnah. B'nai Yir, the people of a city, Shamachru, who sold, Rechov Vashalir, the street of a city, Lokchen, you must purchase B'damav, with the money, a Beit Knesset, because the Beit Knesset where you pray in regularly has more Kedusha than the street where you pray in occasionally. Beit Knesset, if you sold a Beit Knesset and you have money, Lokchen, you can purchase Teva, something that has a higher Kedusha, because the Aron Kodesh is more intimate with the Sefer Torah than the Beit Knesset is. If you sold a Teva, an Aron Kodesh, Lokchen, you can purchase Mitpachot. You can purchase the covers of the Sefer Torah, which is even closer and intimate with the Sefer Torah, more than the Aron Kodesh. Mitpachot, if you sold the covers of the Sefer Torah, Yikchu Sfarim, with the money you can buy scrolls of Nevi'im and Ktuvim, because they themselves, their words have Kedusha. And if you sold Sfarim, scrolls of Nevi'im and Ktuvim, with the money Lokchen Torah, you can buy a Sefer Torah. But you can't downgrade. Aval Machru Torah, but if you sold a Sefer Torah, Lo Yikchu Sfarim, don't buy Sfarim of Nevi'im and Ktuvim, because you're supposed to go up in Kedusha and not down. Sfarim, if you sold Sfarim of Nevi'im and Ktuvim, Lo Yikchu Mitpachot, don't purchase the covers of a Sefer Torah. Mitpachot, if you sold the covers of a Sefer Torah, lo yikchu teva, don't buy an Aron Kodesh. Teva, if you sold an Aron Kodesh, lo yikchu Beit Knesset, don't buy a Beit Knesset. And Beit Knesset, if you sold a Beit Knesset, lo yikchu et harachov, don't buy the street of the city. V'chein, and the same law applies b'mot re'em, when you sold an object of Kedusha, and with part of the money you bought something that had a higher Kedusha, does not allow you to use the balance of the money to buy something which has a lower Kedusha. We start the Gemara. B'nei Yair shemachru rechov shalir, the people of a city who sold the street of the city. Amar Rabba bar Bar Chana Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabba bar Bar Chana said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Zu, this Mishnah that says that the street of the city has Kedusha, Divrei Rabbi Menachem bar Yossi, are the words of Rabbi Menachem bar Yossi, Stum Ta'ah. As we learned in the beginning of the Masechta, the word Stum Ta'ah means that sometimes there are Mishnayot and Braitot that were written anonymously without a name, and many of them reflect the opinion of Rabbi Menachem bar Yossi, Stum Ta'ah, the plain. Aval Chachamim Amr, but the Chachamim hold, Harachov Einbo Mishum Kedusha. A street of a city has no Kedusha, and therefore when you sell the street of the city, you can do whatever you want. Rabbi Menachem Maitame, Rabbi Menachem bar Yossi Maitame. What is the reason for Rabbi Menachem bar Yossi, who says that the street of a city has Kedusha? Hoil v'ha'am mitpalim bo betaniyot. People would pray on the street during a fast day. The Mishnayot and Ta'anit say that when there was no rain, there was a series of three taniyot, and then another series of 3 taniyot, and finally there was a series of 7 taniyot. They were all Mondays and Thursdays. The last 7 taniyot, we went out to the streets to pray and took the Aron Kodesh with us. We said to God, we tried to pray to you in a place where it was secret or private or more modest. We weren't answered, so now we're out in the street. We've been exiled into the street, and please answer us. And so people would daven in the streets on a fast day, in the last 7 fast days. Uve ma'amadot. We talked about this the other day, that the Jewish people were divided into 24 groups, and every week another group was on duty. Some of them who lived closer to the Beit HaMikdash would come to the Beit HaMikdash to watch the Karbanot being brought, and those who lived further away would gather together and pray from Sunday through Friday that Hashem should accept the week's Karbanot. And their prayer also happened in the streets. And so since the people prayed in the streets either during Mamadot or during fast days, it has a Kedusha. The Rabbanan disagree, and they say, Ahu akroi ba'almo. That just happens to happen on a rare occasion. And since it only happens on a rare occasion, the streets do not acquire Kedusha. My friends, look what's going on. Shuls are closed, and sometimes minyanim are happening in the streets. Even the streets are now places of prayer, and we ask Hashem, when we prayed in the synagogue, maybe you didn't answer us, so now that we're out in the street, please answer us. But again, the dispute between Rabbi Menachem bar Yossi and the Rabbanan is, since we pray in the street on occasion, does that mean that the streets acquire Kedusha? And if the street happens to be sold, and we'll see eventually who can sell a street of a city, does the money have to be used for a higher Kedusha? Or maybe the street has no Kedusha, since it only happens occasionally. Beit HaKnesset lo k'nteva. If you sell a Beit HaKnesset, you can buy something of a higher Kedusha, which is the Aron Kodesh. Amar Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani, Amar Rabbi Yonatan. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani said in the name of Rabbi Yonatan, Lo shanu. This was not learned, that you can sell a Beit Knesset, Ela Beit Knesset shel Kfarim. Only a Beit Knesset in a village, which belongs to the people of the village. So the people of the village, or the board of directors of the village, can sell the Beit HaKnesset of the village. Aval Beit HaKnesset shel Krakin, but a Beit HaKnesset that belongs to a city that is a much bigger, it's a metropolis, Kevan sins the Me'alma Atulei, since people come from all over the world to use this Beit HaKnesset of a metropolis, Lo Matzu Mizabnilei, the people of the city where the shul is cannot sell that Beit HaKnesset, the Havalei Derabim, because it becomes a public asset, it belongs to everyone. Now, there are different pshatim in the Rishonim why a synagogue in a metropolis belongs to everyone. either because originally it was built so that it would service everyone, not just the people of the city, but people from other cities who come, so they too have rights in it, therefore it cannot be sold without their agreement, and you can't get all the people in the world to agree. Or because perhaps when you built the Beit Knesset and it was going to service people all over the world, so people all over the world donated money for it. Therefore they actually have a financial interest in it. One way or the other, either the people of all over the world have a financial interest in the Beit Knesset, or it was originally dedicated to service the people of the world. That type of Beit Knesset cannot be sold by the local people of the city where the Beit Knesset is found. But if it's a Beit Knesset of a village, that belongs just to the villagers, and they can decide to sell it. Amar Rav Ashi says, Hi Beit Knishta, this Beit Knesset, Demota Mechasya, of the city Mechasya, Afagav, even though the Mei Alma, from the entire world, Atu La, they come to it, people come from all over to the city Mechasya. Mechasya was a large city. But Kevon, since the Adaito Didi, that it's based on my mind, Ka'atu, that they come, people come to ask me questions, and people come to see me, and people know that I am the authority here in the city Mechasya. Ibeina, if I, Rav Ashi, want, Mizabdina La, I can sell it. So again, either the shul was built to service people of the whole world, or people of the whole world gave money. But since Rav Ashi was such a dominant personality and rabbi in Mechasya, whoever gave the money, or whoever built it, knew that ultimately Rav Ashi would be the decider, the one who decides whether the shul is to be sold or not, and Rav Ashi has the authority over Beit Knesset in the city Mechasya. Meitivei, the Gemara responds with a question. Amar Rabbi Yehuda says, so there was a story, Beit HaKnesset Shel Tursiim. There was a Beit HaKnesset of coppersmiths, Shehaya b'Yerushalayim. This Beit HaKnesset was in Jerusalem, which definitely is a metropolis. Shemecharuha leRabbi Eliezer. This Beit Knesset was sold to Rabbi Eliezer. V'asa bo kol tzrachav. And when he purchased it, he used it for whatever he wanted. So you see that whoever owned this Beit HaKnesset of coppersmiths was able to sell it to Rabbi Eliezer. But v'ha hatam. But over there in Jerusalem, dichrakim hava. This is a synagogue in Jerusalem, which is a large city. So according to Rav Shmuel Bar Nachmani, if the synagogue is in a large city, it becomes such a public asset that nobody could sell it. So how was this coppersmith's synagogue sold to Rabbi Eliezer? The Gemara answers, Ahi Beit Knishta Zuti Hava. It was just a small Beit Knesset, which only the coppersmiths used, and Inhu Avduha, and they're the ones who made it. So the coppersmith, the union of coppersmiths were the ones who built that Beit Knesset. They paid for it. It was meant for themselves. And therefore they were able to decide themselves that they wanted to sell it to Rabbi Eliezer. In any case, according to Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachmani, a synagogue in a large city belongs to the general community and can never be sold. Meitivei, the Gemara responds with a question from a faraway place. Open your minds to a new area from which we will ask a question against Rav Shmuel Bar Nachmani. The Torah says in Parshat Metzora that there may arrive a negat tzarat, a mark of tzarat, bebeit eretz achuzatchem, in a house in the land of your possession. In a house in the land of your possession, on the wall, there may be a mark, and it needs to be dealt with as nig'ei batim, a nega in a house. We make a drasha, achuzatchem, only something that actually belongs to you, something that belongs to a specific shevet, or a house that belongs to a specific person in the shevet, mitame can become tame benegoim, can acquire tumat negoim. But en Yerushalayim mitame benegoim. But in Jerusalem, this doesn't work. In Jerusalem, a house cannot become tame benegoim. Amar Rabbi Yehuda says, Ani lo shamati, I did not hear from my teachers, ella makom migdash bilvad. The Beit HaMikdash belongs to everyone. So therefore, since it's not a private property of anyone, it's not achuzatchem. It's not a home of your ownership. The Beit HaMikdash is not achuzatchem. It's not your achuza. It's not your private property. It belongs to the Jewish people in general. So it sounds like the only thing that belongs to the Jewish people in general is the Beit HaMikdash. But the Knesiyat but the Midrashot mitamen. It sounds like a Beit Knesset and Beit Midrash, even in Jerusalem, could become Tameh. So the Beit HaMikdash does not belong to anybody in particular, but a Beit Knesset and a Beit Midrash could become Tamei B'Negoim, because it could be private property. But Amai, how can a Beit Knesset and a Beit Midrash, particularly in Jerusalem, be private property? Hadikrachem havu. But we said before, Rav Shmuel Bar Nachmani said that every synagogue in a metropolis belongs to the greater public. So why here do we only consider the Mikdash public property, but a Beit Knesset and a Beit Midrash not? According to Rav Shmuel Bar Nachmani, every Beit Knesset or Beit Midrash in a metropolis is absolute public property. And if it's public property, it should not be able to become Tamei with a Nega and a Bayit, because only private property can become Tamei with a Nega and a Bayit. The Gemara says, Ema, let us say, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, that Rabbi Yehuda said, Ani lo shamati, I did not hear, elamokim mekudash bilvad. I heard that every holy place in Jerusalem cannot become Tamei B'Negoim. Not only Mokam HaMikdash, not only the temple, but every single Mokam Mekudash, every Beit Knesset and every Beit Midrash, because Yerushalayim is a metropolis, therefore every Beit Knesset and every Beit Midrash, and also the Beit HaMikdash, is general public property, and therefore it can't get Tumat and Negoim. It can't become Tamei with a neg on the bayit. So that becomes an interesting issue. Does Jerusalem belong to private ownership? Is it Yehuda and Binyamin, the Shvatim of Yehuda and Binyamin, who owned Yerushalayim, or did Yerushalayim belong to everyone? If it belonged to everyone, then nothing in Yerushalayim can become Tamei B'Negoim because it's all public property. If it belonged to Yehuda or Binyamin, so then it's private property of the Shevet, and individuals can also have private property. So that's the issue. Was Yerushalayim, when Yerushalayim was conquered, was it given to the Jewish people in general, or was it given to Yehuda and Binyamin? If it was given to Yehuda and Binyamin, then Yerushalayim is private property, except for the Beis HaMikdash. If it was given to everybody, then it's public property. Tanakama, the Tanakama that says that Yerushalayim cannot have Tumat Negoim, nothing in Yerushalayim can have Tumat Negoim, Savar holds, Lo Nitchalka Yerushalayim L'Shvatim. Yerushalayim was not divided by the Shvatim. It belonged to the Jewish people in general, and therefore it's not called Achuzatchem, it's not called the heritage of the Jewish people. Rabbi Yehuda Savar, Rabbi Yehuda holds Nischalka Yerushalayim L'Shvatim. Rabbi Yehuda holds Yerushalayim was divided to Shvatim, to Yehuda and Binyamin, and therefore it's private property, so the houses in Yerushalayim could get Negoim. A Beit HaKnesset, a Beit Medrash, and the Beit HaMikdash cannot, because those are public property, but private homes in Yerushalayim belong to citizens of Yehuda and Binyamin. You're going to have to use a little bit of imagination. I hope you have a Gemara in front of you. I'm going to use the Gemara in front of you as a model for what I'm about to describe. Beplukta dahani Tanoi. There's a dispute of Tanoim. The Tani will enter a Braita, Mehaya b'chalkai shel Yehuda. What belonged to Shevet Yehuda? Harabayit. Now, if you look at your Gemara, the right side of your Gemara, from the top right-hand corner to the bottom right-hand corner, is east. The left side of your Gemara, from the top left-hand corner to the bottom left-hand corner, is west. The entire top of your Gemara, from the top right-hand corner to the top left-hand corner, is north, and the bottom of your Gemara, from the bottom right-hand corner to the bottom left-hand corner, is south. Got it? East is to your right, west is to your left, north is up, and south is down. So, what belonged to you? The Harabayit. The Harabayit, the Temple Mount, which is to the east of your Gemara. Ha-lishachot. There were rooms and chambers which were also east. V'ha-azarot. Now, if you divide the Gemara in front of you into two halves, you have the right hand of your Gemara and the left hand of your Gemara. The right hand of your Gemara was the Ezrat Nashim, was a large plaza, and then from the right hand of your Gemara to the left hand of your Gemara, there are 15 steps going up, and the left-hand side of your Gemara is the courtyard of the actual Beit HaMikdash. And the left-hand side of your Gemara, if you divide the left-hand side of your Gemara to the right half and the left half, on the right half there was a Mizbeach, and on the left half was the actual structure of the Beit HaMikdash. Let me run through that again. On the east side of your whole big Gemara, that was the Mizrach, that was the east. the right hand side of your Gemara, from the right hand, from the end of your Gemara to the center, was Ezrat Nashim. It was a big plaza. From the right hand side of your Gemara to the left hand, imagine there's 15 stairs going up. The left hand side of your Gemara is called the Azara, the courtyard of the actual Mikdash. That left hand side of your Gemara divided into two halves, the right half and the left half, and the right half was a Mizbeach, which was, let's say, centered, and the left half was the actual Beit HaMikdash. V'ha'azaros, so the courtyards, whether it's the courtyard which is on the right hand side of your Gemara, or the courtyards on the left hand side of your Gemara up to the Mizbeach, was in the Chelik of Yehuda. What was in the part of Binyamin? And the left hand side of your Gemara, on the left half, was the actual structure of the Beis HaMikdash. The structure of the Beis HaMikdash had an ulam, a big, large hallway, through which you went through to get to the Heichel, to the sanctuary, which you went through to get to the Beis Kacheh Kadoshim, to the Holy of Holies. So again, if you imagine the building of the Beit HaMikdash in the left-hand part of the left-hand side of your Gemara, it is a building which has an ulam. As you're going from east to west, you're going through a hallway, then you go through a heichel, a sanctuary, and once a year the Kohen Gadol would go past the curtain between the sanctuary and Kodesh HaKadoshim to go into the Holy of Holies. Now let's go back to the right-hand half of the left-hand side of your Gemara where the Mizbeach was. So if you picture a little Mizbeach there, and you have again east to the right, west to the left, a north up and south down, Ritzua haisa yotzet mechelko shel Yehuda v'nechneset bechelko shel Binyamin. As I told you before, Yehuda was to the east. Yehuda was to the east of your Gemara. Yehuda had the entire plaza on your right side of your Gemara, and Yehuda even had the first little part of the left-hand side of your Gemara, which were all courtyards. The Mizbeach, on the other hand, was already belonging to Binyamin. As we went westward, it belonged to Binyamin. However, the Mizbeach has, as I explained to you, four sides: east, north, west, and south. On the east side of the Mizbeach and on the south side of the Mizbeach, an amma about 2 feet, right at the base of the Mizbeach, on the east side and on the south side, that belonged to Yehuda. Ritzua, a strip of land, Haita Yotzet, extended, Mechelko Shel Yehuda, from the portion of Yehuda which is going from east towards west, V'nechneset, and it entered, Bechelko Shel Binyamin, it entered into Binyamin's share, Uba Mizbeach Banui, and that's where the Mizbeach was built. The actual Mizbeach, the square of the Mizbeach, was in Binyamin's land, but on the east side of the Mizbeach, a 2-foot strip, and on the south side of the Mizbeach, a 2-foot strip, belonged to Yehuda. V'hoya Binyamin Atzadik, and Binyamin, the son of Yaakov Avinu, who was a righteous man, mitztar oleh b'chol yom. When he saw, by divine inspiration, that Yehuda was going to own 1 amma, which is 2 feet, on the east side of his Mizbeach, and on the south side of the Mizbeach, and by the way, that amma was where the base of the Mizbeach was going to be, but there was no base there, because it was Yehuda country and not Binyamin country. And when Binyamin foresaw that with his divine inspiration, mitztar oleh b'chol yom l'bala, every day that he imagined that, he wanted to swallow that piece. He wished that it was his and not Yehuda's. Shenemer, as it says, chofef alav kol hayom. Binyamin was like rubbing himself, scratching his head all day. I wish that I had even that Am on the east and that Am on the south. Lefichach, it's because Binyamin cared so much to be the host of God's presence, that it should be in his land. Zocha Binyamin, that's why Binyamin merited V'nasa ushpizchan l'shchina, and he became the host of God's presence because he wanted it so badly. But according to this Braita, Yerushalayim evidently was divided between Yehuda and Binyamin. Yehuda had the east side going from east towards west. Binyamin had the west side, which included the Beit HaMikdash and most of the Mizbeach. And Yehuda actually encroached a little bit on the land of Binyamin because the east side of the Mizbeach and the south side of the Mizbeach was Yehuda's. According to this view, Yerushalayim was private property. It belonged to Yehuda and Binyamin. But V'hai Tana, but there's another Tana, Savar, that holds Lo nitchalka Yerushalayim l'shvatim. Yerushalayim did not belong to anybody, any particular shevet. It belonged to everybody. The Tanya, because we learned in a Braita, Eim askir and batam b'Yerushalayim. Imagine this. People would come to Jerusalem for Pesach, Shavuot, or Sukkot. the people who lived there could not rent out their apartments to the guests. Why? Because the people who lived there all year round, the houses weren't really theirs. Because Jerusalem belongs to everyone. And therefore when people came, nobody could say, you can stay in my house, but I'll charge you rent. Or the hotels, the 5-star hotels, could not charge rent in the hotels because people would say, you should know that all this land and all these rooms really are ours. Let's continue. Rav Lazar bar Tzadok Aimer af lo mitot. You couldn't even charge rent for the bed, even though you may have bought the bed in a furniture store. So if you want to use the bed that I bought in the furniture store, maybe you should pay me rent. You can't charge for it. And the Rishonim say the reason for that is because the guy who you want to charge will say, but you kept your bed on our real estate a whole year round. So therefore we're not going to charge you for keeping your bed on our real estate, and you don't charge us on Yontif when we use your bed. No, so it comes out that all the Jews who came to Yerushalayim got to live for free. But lefichach, therefore, let's be fair, orot kadashim, when people brought korbanot, and at the end of a shlamim, the owner got to keep the skin, bali ushpizin, it's the hosts who hosted the guests, notlin otam bezroa, had the right by force to take those skins. Because look, you leave the guy at least a tip. If you're not going to pay him rent, at least leave him a thank you that he maintains this place a whole year round for you to use on Yontiv. So the tip was the leather hides of the korbanot that were brought. Amar Abai, and Abai says, Shmami, no, we hear from this, Orach Ara, it's Derech Eretz, Lemishbak, to leave, Inish, a person should leave Gulfa. Gulfa is the clay container, Umashka is the hide of an animal, Bushpize, in the place where he's hosted. If a person is a guest and he's not paying anything, but at least he should leave a tip, he should leave some gift to the host. So what is the tip that he leaves? In case he had utensils that he bought food in, he leaves the utensils for the host. It seems the utensil was worth something. I guess in our time you don't leave the empty popcorn bag or the empty Cheerios box for the host. But if there's something of more value, a gulfa was a container which had a value that the guest used, he says to the host, and by the way, I'm leaving this for you, enjoy it. Today it's more common to buy flowers or a bottle of wine. Or mashka was a hide. If a person had an animal that he ate the meat from as he was staying in town, he tells the owner, by the way, the hide I'm giving to you as a tip. So, let's review the Mishnah and the Gemara just by English. I'm going to read it word for word. See if you can keep up. But it takes concentration to keep up. Starting from Bnei Ha'ir. The people of a city who sold the street of the city, Lokhin, should buy with the money a Beit Knesset. Beit Knesset, if they sold a Beit Knesset, they should buy with the money a Teva, or an Kodesh. If they sold a Teva and Oren Kodesh, they should buy with the money mitpachot, covers for a Sefer Torah. If they sell mitpachot, covers of a Sefer Torah, they should buy with the money Sfarim of Nevi'im and Ktuvim. And if they sell Sfarim of Nevi'im and Ktuvim, they should buy with the money a Sefer Torah. But if they sold a Sefer Torah, they should not buy with the money Sfarim of Nevi'im and Ktuvim, because you're supposed to go up in Kedusha and not down. If they sold Sfarim of Nevi'im and Ktuvim, they should not buy covers for a Sefer Torah. And if they sold covers of a Sefer Torah, they should not purchase a Oren Kodesh. And if they sold an Oren Kodesh, they should not purchase a Beit Knesset. And if they sold a Beit Knesset, they should not purchase a street in the city, because you can't go down in Kedusha. And the same goes for the surplus money. If you had money and you bought something of a higher Kedusha and you have money left over, you must use even the surplus money for a higher Kedusha. The Gemara said, the Bnei Ha'ir, the people of a city that sold the street of a city, Rabba bar Chana said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan that the Mishnah is the Mishnah's words are the words of Rabbi Menachem bar Yossi, who's called Stumta, because many Mishnayot and Braitot that were written anonymously are his opinion. But the Chachamim hold the street does not have Kedusha. So when you sell the street, you can do whatever you want with the money. Rabbi Menachem bar Yossi, my Tameh, what's his reasoning that it does have Kedusha? Since people pray there on fast days, that's the 7 last fast days of a 13 fast series, and b'mamadot, when people gathered on their week to pray that the korbanot should be accepted. So people daven in the street, therefore the street has Kedusha, according to Rabbi Menachem Bar Yossi. And the Rabbanan feel hahu akroi ba'alma. It's just an occasion. It's only used occasionally, and therefore the street does not get Kedusha. If you celebrate Knesset, you're allowed to buy, or should buy, an Aron Kodesh. Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachmani said in the name of Rabbi Yonatan, Lo Shanu, we did not learn that you can celebrate Knesset, only a Beit Knesset of a village, which is private property. But a Beit Knesset shel Krakin, which is in a larger city, since Me'alma Atule, from the entire world they come, Lo Matzu, you're not able, Mezabnile, to sell it, because the Havale Derabim, it belongs to the public, either because it was made for the public or the public paid for it, and therefore the local authorities have no right to sell it. Rav Ashi says this Beit Knishta, this Beit Knesset of the city Machasya, even though Me'alma from the whole world Atu La, they come to it, since Adaita Didi Ka'atu, since they come for me to ask me questions of learning, and they know that I'm the Rav, the Rav of the city. Ibeina, if I want to, Mizabnina, I can sell it, because all the people who have rights to it, or all the people who paid for it, gave me power of attorney to act on their behalf and do whatever I think is right. The Gemara responds with a question. Rabbi Yehuda says there was a story in a Beit Knesset of coppersmiths, Tursiim, that was in Jerusalem, which is a metropolis, that it was sold to Rabbi Eliezer, v'asaba, and he did their kol tzrocho, keskilva, whatever he wanted. But v'hahatam, but over there, dechrakim havu, it was a Beit Knesset of a large city. So how were they able to sell it? The answer is ahi Beit Knishta zute hava. Zute is small. That was a small Beit Knesset, and inu avduha. It's the coppersmiths who made it. So it was their private Beit Knesset, and they had the right to sell it. So according to Rav Shmuel Bar Nachmani, any Beit Knesset or Beit Midrash in a large city is public property that cannot be sold. Meitivei, the Gemara responds with a question. The Torah says, Bebeit Eretz Achuzatchem, you can get a nega in a house in the land that you possess. Achuzatchem, only if you possess it can it become Tamei ben Goyim. But Yerushalayim is not possessed by anybody in particular, and therefore Ein Yerushalayim Tamei ben Goyim. Yerushalayim cannot become Tamei ben Goyim. Rabbi Yehuda says, I did not hear this law, but only the Beit HaMikdash itself, because the Beit HaMikdash is really public property. Ha, which implies that a Beit Knesset or Beit Midrash, mitamin, could become Tamei because it's private property, and private property could become Tamei ben Goyim. But my question is, amai? According to Rav Shmuel Bar Nachmani, hadikrachem havu, the Beit Knesset and Beit Midrash is public property, just like the Mikdash. So how can, according to Rabbi Yehuda, how can a Beit Knesset or Beit Midrash acquire nigei batim? The Gemara says we should say, Rabbi Yehuda said, I did not hear, only Mokaim Mekudesh Bulvad, holy places. The Tanakama feels all of Jerusalem is public property, and Rabbi Yehuda said that I heard only holy places are public property. Beit HaMikdash, of course, and every Beit Knesset and Beit Midrash. But Rabbi Yehuda does insist that every holy place is considered public property, like Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachmani. What is this dispute? Whether all of Yerushalayim is public property or not? The Tanakama feels, Savar, lo nitchalka Yerushalayim l'shvatim. Yerushalayim was never divided amongst the shvatim, so therefore it was all public property, the whole city. And Rabbi Yehuda feels that Yerushalayim was divided amongst the shvatim, therefore in Yerushalayim there is private property, except for a Beit Knesset, a Beit Midrash, or the Beit HaMikdash. The dispute is the same as Hani Tanoi, as a pair of Tanoim. We learned in a Braita what belonged to the Chelik of Yehuda, the Har HaBayit, as I showed you, that's the east side of your Gemara, or even further east. Even further east of your Gemara is the Har HaBayit, the Temple Mount, the Leshachot, the chambers and rooms which were in Har HaBayit, the Azarot, that was the right side of your Gemara, which was the plaza, and even the left side of your Gemara, the beginning of the left side of your Gemara also were plazas, and that too belonged to Yehuda. And what was in the portion of Binyamin as you continue going west? When you actually hit the Beit HaMikdash, there's the Ulam, there's the outer hall, there's the inner Heichal, the sanctuary, and further going west, there's the Beis Kodesh HaKadosh and the Holy of Holies. By the way, on the right half of the left side of your Gemara, there was a Mizbeach. The Mizbeach was in Binyamin's land, but Ritzua, there was a strip that went from east to west, that came out from the portion of Yehuda and entered, so to speak, the part of Binyamin. And the Mizbech was built on it. Meaning, on the east side of the Mizbech, there was an Amma, a 2-foot strip, and on the south side of the Mizbech, there was also an Amma, a 2-foot strip, that strip right alongside the Mizbech on its east and south sides belonged to Yehuda. And Binyamin HaTzadik, when he foresaw that this was how it was going to look, he was mitztar aleha. He was suffering for it every day. He wished he could swallow it. He wished that Amma on the east and the Amma on the south would have belonged to him as well. As the pasuk says, Chofef alav kol hayom. He was like scratching his head all day, wishing that he had that strip of land on the east and that strip of land on the west, so that the entire area of the Mizbech would be in his land. And it was because of that Binyamin merited to become the Ushpizchan, the host for the Shekhinah, because he wanted it so badly. So according to this view, Yerushalayim was divided between Yehuda and Binyamin. Bahai Tana, but there's another Tana that holds that Yerushalayim was lo nitchalka, was not divided l'shvatim. We learned in a Braita, Ein maskirim batim b'Yerushalayim. Landlords, homeowners in Jerusalem can't rent out their homes on Yom Tov because Einon Shalahem, because it doesn't belong to them. Rabbi Elazar Bar Tzadok even says that af lo mitot, you can't rent out your bed either, because even though the bed is private property, but since the public allows the people who live in Jerusalem all year to keep their furniture on public land, so on Yom Tov, the people who are the inhabitants of Jerusalem must let all the guests use even their furniture without charging. But therefore, Orot Kadosh, and the skins of Korbanot, the hosts, the Bali Yishpiz and the hosts who hosted the guests, take it by force, meaning they have the right to ask the guests to give the hides of the Korbanot. Abai is a Shma Mina, we hear from this, it's Orach Ar Derech Eretz, Lemishbak, to leave, Lemishbak Inish, that a person should leave, Gulfa, the clay container, Umashchan, the hide, Bushpize, where he stays. And again, I said, don't do this today. Today, when you're a guest somewhere, you bring a bottle of wine, or you bring flowers, don't leave your empties and a skin of a chicken for the host. It's not going to be appreciated. Anyway. So now, a little bit, I'll switch over to Haggadah Shel Pesach. We have different students and various minhagim, so I can't speak for everyone, but Sheinu, the Ka'ara, is really made of 2 triangles. There's a top right and a top left and a center, and then below the center, there's a little bit below that to the right, a little bit below that to the left, and the bottom of the 3rd triangle. It's like